to another LinuxGameCast Weekly, the show that covers the latest Linux gaming news, reviews, how-tos, and most importantly, whatever the hell else we come up with. This week, did Microsoft nope Oculus Linux support? Maybe? Question mark. Steam is horribly bad at maths. Unless 14 days equals 6 months. And Geriatric Racing Simulator 2015 gets online multiplayer. That's dead on arrival.
Double your pleasure, quadruple your wang. Shadow Warrior 2 gets announced. Godot is going full Vulkan. Well, we're still waiting on games. And the Goobs unveils their new streaming service. Oh, sorry. What's that? I've just received a DMCA takedown notice. I'm sorry.
Valve claims it has sold 35%. Internet journalists jump to conclusions. Dota 2 gets a special beta. And all Valve says is that it has a new engine. OpenMW sees itself in Open Scene Graph. It's still missing more than a little functionality, but work is well underway.
Ivan Stone here at LGC Actual, switching the bits, doing all this Nightmare Sauce live, joined every week by my Kernical,
yes! I am Kernical
Jordan Quaig, and all the way from Space Portugal, you know him, I'm Pedro Mateus, and together with the Chat Realm Dynamic, we form a bit of a cocaine Voltron. Real quick, let's see what's going on in each other's life organs before we get this nightmare train started. Over here, they had a bit of a sale. I heard something about it. So,
sale?
Yeah. And it's like, okay. Well, I own everything, but one thing I didn't own was Half-Life 2 Episode 1, Half-Life 2 Episode 2. Somehow I had lost coast. I don't know how that happened. Picked up Episode 1. I was like, 5 hours gone out of my life. Fun times. What's up, J-Baby?
Well, I apparently have a failing solid-state drive in this computer, so now we're playing the how long does it take before I kernel panic roulette. So far, it's been at least an hour in between, so hopefully this segment should go without a hitch.
Yes. Hopefully. This is big hopes there. I actually didn't have a whole lot going on this week. It's been mostly just work. So, yeah.
Were you serious?
No.
Alright, fuck you. What's the horse up to?
You know, the horse is at 35% of its full power level. It's our Steam update.
35%. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so
it's
according to PC Gamer, Valve's Get It Early hardware pre-orders have been, well underway, and they've sold apparently 35% of them. Now, that could mean that Valve only made like 10 Steam Links and 10 Steam controllers for pre-order, and the average between the two gets like 35%, or it could have been in the thousands. We don't know.
Well, it could have been in the hundreds of thousands. I mean, without a total available units, this metric is fuck all and useless.
Yep.
It is from PC Gamer, Fluff Piece Generator Extraordinaire. Link to which, all this stuff in our show notes. Get that out of the way right now. No.
This is why people usually don't discuss what Valve says, because they don't actually go into details 90% of the time. They usually say, we have 125 million active accounts. Okay, that's cool, but that's as far as it goes, really.
Well, continuing on with this nightmare, Steam refund experience, majority outside of that 2-week window. Actually, the guys over at Gamasutra? Yeah, maybe?
Gamasutra.
Yeah, this was actually written by a developer for...
Wasn't it
Octopus, yeah. Octopus
yes.
Game.
Octodad. Yeah.
Octodad. And, this is the whole thing. I mean, where's that? I don't see it. I'm just going to go off the show notes. What they do say is, to quote this correctly, it turns out that 80% of our refunds match the sale price for these periods, putting the purchase dates between 2 and 5 months ago. And I was just reading this. I didn't initially plan on even putting this in the notes, but it got my brain organ turning, and I was like, 2 to 5 months, you say? I might have a title that could be in that window. It might be worth the Pepsi challenge. Boom! Yes, finally, our long national nightmare is over. I, Vinstone, got a refund for that busted piece of crap known as Dying Light.
I'm gonna miss your periodic Dying Light updates, though, to see if it still works.
Don't worry, I bought Raven's Cry with a refund.
Brilliant.
But here's some more stats. Former enemy, now friend of the show, Gary Newman, put up his bits about what he got refunded with, and it's not that bad, really, because he's looking at like 0.2%. So
yeah, you really have to do something bad if your game's going to get a refund. We were talking last week a lot about people abusing the system, but I would say that's at most 30% of like the customer base.
Most. Yeah.
And
the only people who were genuinely worried were those people who were well aware that they're putting shit up for sale on Steam.
Mm-hmm.
I guess at the end of the day, you can kind of look at it like, maybe this is a good idea to let people go out and clear the inventory of just think, I didn't mean to buy that. I don't want this anymore. Just let it get out of the system, then lock it back into that 14-day, 2-hour time period. I think it was maybe a smart move. We'll see when that hole closes. But, yeah, those percentages just don't lie, do they?
Man. Yeah, so this is a potentially legal thing that some people are doing on the Steam store. This has nothing to do with Valve. Valve just provides the service. But it seems like there are a couple games, War Thunder seems to be the one this go around, that have raised their price before the Steam sale and are now touting a discount that, is, while still less than the original price, is not as good a deal as people would expect.
I'm shocked.
Sorry, what?
I'm shocked, man. I mean,
it's apparently this has been pulled off before. This is from a Reddit thread from our Steam. Gaijin did it for I don't know. Gaijin is a game, I guess.
Gaijin Entertainment,
they're a developer.
Yeah, they're the ones behind War Thunder. Not only did they pull this shit again this year,
DayZ did it as well. Yeah.
They even noped, which was kind of cheesy. Some blog, YouTube channel, it was really nobody you would even know of, posted a video and was like, yes, they did that. Then they put a takedown notice on their video. I mean, these guys are just skeezy as hell. And, you know, War Thunder, if you're wondering about it, I mean, it's a free-to-play thing. Right, I mean, it's play to win. You get it for free and all that. What do you guys think? I'm kind of on team do your own damn research and quit bitching about it. I mean, if you get screwed over, that's on you. It's not Valve's responsibility to say,
yeah, but how far does caveat emptor actually extend when it is illegal in most countries to pull this kind of shit? And Valve,
especially
as a service
Oceania,
provider,
which is, New Zealand, Australia,
but
Portugal,
most of the EU, for that matter.
I mean, they can put the kibosh on it, but then the Australian government will just jack up the price again. So really, they don't care.
But Australia is an entirely different beast. It's not the first time that this has happened, and Valve, as a service provider, they're not at fault for developers pulling their shit, but they are
should
providing
maybe
the
step
service.
in, though. Yeah.
There's something that Maddie actually had a very valid point. Went full douchebag, period. All right, good sentence there. They did.
Yes.
GTA said, okay, we're going to give you free Magic Internet Money card. Put it on sale for the same price that it normally is, because that would be a loophole. Because if you don't know, if there's any type of DLC attached to it that would alter your in-game experience.
Redeemable thing.
Right. You can't get a refund. And I was like, man, that's skeezy. But that's for another time.
Yeah, that actually
Dota 2 Reborn engine UI, less frustrating.
Ooh, it's a new beta, technically. Okay. It's the Dota 2 Reborn beta. It has a new engine, new UI, which looks very, very familiar if you actually played Counter-Strike Global
Pedro,
Offensive.
What's the new engine?
The new engine, they don't specify. If you actually look at the Valve website for the announcement, they say it's a new engine in the title, and then they never address it in the article itself, like Valve does.
Well, they do address this instead of the traditional termination testing Crucible, a 14-year-old swearing at you in Russian. Yes, I just like that line. I wanted to say it.
Yeah.
I don't play Dota 2. I've tried it, and I was like, well, that works. Next.
You play one mode, but you play them all.
It requires a specific demographic to enjoy this game. I'm not a part of it. It's a MOBA. That's all I know, really.
Right on.
But yeah, apparently it's going to serve as a showcase for the Source Engine 2, maybe?
it'd be better if they made some, maybe Left 4 Dead 3 and showed me some of that. No, give me some more.
But Dota is actually their money maker right now.
But what you don't understand is Half-Life Portal 3 is confirmed Source Engine 2 Zong.
Well, Gaben did say
taken.
that at that one time that they would release a game with a 3 on the end. Fuck you, Internet.
All right, wing time.
The game is just called 3. Oh, yes. So much Wang. More Wang than you can handle. This is Shadow Warrior 2, and you can't buy it yet. That just makes me angry.
Wangry, even.
Wangry. It makes me svangry. No, this is the trailer for Shadow Warrior 2. It's not out. They say it's coming in 2016. I, for one, am super excited about that because Shadow Warrior, the remake was awesome. I did not expect to like that game as much as I actually did. And they addressed one of my biggest complaints with the game. They actually added multiplayer. 4-man co-op. That's a thing. And the one thing that does worry me, and Ven, you put the kibosh on that, and I did sort of read it that way, but it was a bit ambiguous, so I didn't want to commit to saying that. But they say the levels are procedurally generated so that you can go back and revisit old areas. Ven seems to think that just means you go to the same general vicinities, and that just the levels themselves are procedurally generated. I don't know. I always find that a bit sketchy. I guess if you're doing 4-man co-op, you gotta add replayability to the game. Otherwise,
there's going to be some things. I mean, a lot of people don't talk about the original. With it was basically you were on a rail. It gave the sense that you could explore shit, but not really. You were always tied into that one path you had to go down. And I can see them just randomly making new paths.
There were secrets and whatnot off to the side. And,
right, but not really an open world exploration. Super excited to this. 4-player wing-tastic. Just can't wait for it, P-Man.
Well, the procedurally generation, the way I see it, is they have specific tile sets and they're sort of mashing tiles together one with another. So the levels, even though they look the same, they're going to be slightly different, maybe.
And by the way, closing this story off, Shadow Warrior 1 is on sale for like $5 now. So if you don't already own it, go buy it.
Yeah, definitely worth it.
If you didn't get that
I think everyone put more time in that than they planned on, except for Pedro because he hated it.
I didn't particularly enjoy it, no.
But then you victorized that game.
Victor Brand! Finally, we talked about this last week. We even did a Busted Ass a couple of weeks back. It is, what would you call it?
Not so busted.
Action RPG. Well, they did a big update. They increased the number of available character slots, new HP, rebalanced certain Destiny cards, fixed an issue causing the screen tearing, and, pretty nice. One thing that kind of scared me about the whole thing, I mean, I'm showing some screenshots of it right now while I'm talking, is they said, well, we had to reset your level back to not. I was like, oh, man.
Well, the thing is, though, you keep all your XP, though.
Keep all your experience. Actually, you keep all your levels, because the first thing you do, the first time you hit anything, you give it a solid thwack, you have to sit through every level upgrade, and choose your items and your rewards. I was like, by the time I got to like level 36, I was like, come on! I was just selecting the first thing. But this is in early access. I was kind of scared they were going to do something like this. They did make it significantly harder, giggity. And
that's good.
Yeah, just have fun with it. If you want it, it's $19.99 currently.
It is pretty fun.
Yeah.
For an early access game, it is very well polished. It's up there with like Necro and what was that other really polished early access
Hello Kitty
game?
Island Adventure. Yeah,
that's the
Distance.
one. Yeah. Distance. Yeah, that's true.
Bah.
Yeah. Oh yes,
Ah.
There's a new patch because Coffee Stain is going to support this game until the end of time. And one thing I have to say: be afraid, be very afraid. They've introduced Mac and Linux optimization.
Oh, no.
So now which means they actually optimized it to run worse, and now you get a whole 5 frames a second on Mac and Linux.
I mean, I tried it. I was like, I still got it installed. But the biggest thing that they introduced to Linux and Mac is texture streaming. You know that thing with Unreal Engine where you're like, it looks, then the textures out of nowhere go, and it just kind of forms. And you're like, right. Mm-hmm. I didn't know it. That's something we really should have shit more on this port is it has always performed just balls poorly. And there's still a ton of graphical... Pedro know what I'm talking about. The bridge signs, white borders.
Uh-huh.
Man, those things are back with a vengeance.
And in the MMO simulator, if you, jumped from a cliff, you could see the tessellation on the tree leaves would actually just fuck up, and all you'd get were like random white textures every now and again. It seemed like the trees were twinkling. It was really annoying, but I suppose it's good that they're still working on it. I got home. I think
they're going to be pumping out DLC for this until the end of time. Of course, they're going to keep supporting this. This is the longest running joke in this is on track to be the longest running joke in history.
And hey, it works. But you know what else also works?
Get back on track.
Trackmogrify. Speaking of distance, yes. This is their new update, which introduces the Trackmogrify mechanic, which, for those of you who are not familiar with the game, if you've played any of the latest versions of Minecraft, you know that when you start a new world, you can sort of introduce, like, you can type down a little phrase or even just a word, or even just a letter.
Yeah, yellow sweat for Jesus.
Yes. It would automatically generate a world based on that seed that you introduced. This is this exact same thing, except it's not a big-ass world like it would be on Minecraft. It's just the one track with whatever you introduced. And they do... I thought this was actually pretty clever of them. They actually look for specific keywords. Say, if you put, like, drop, it will introduce those hovering spaceships that drop and
So then you actually played around with this a bit, didn't you?
Played with it a bit. I actually watched the developers. Well, I've been playing with this. What you want to know is if you have the beta branch enabled, which I do, it'll give you another beta. This has been out for billions of years ago in the future's past. And the first iterations were just laughably bad because you would fly off tracks randomly. But I watched 4 of the developers playing last night on the Twitches, and they were talking about some of the type in pumpkin. That's brilliant. You get your pumpkins and bits like that. They've gotten a lot better, and they were talking about some future things they want to add to it. Another one's going to be adding your own MP3s or audio to kind of sync up with the levels in business like that.
What was the seed that you provided?
A couple of, usually Turbo Cock Smasher 9000, but sometimes I might have added maybe the word penis in there. I don't know.
Yeah, actually, you posted the link to that in the show notes. So if you want to check out the penis level, you can do that after the fact.
Oh,
I actually ended up using that as a template for a map for a D&D game I have
You're
tomorrow.
currently warping to penis, followed by how would you rate penis? Question.
0 stars.
Because I'm a grown adult, ladies and gentlemen, LGCKs. Up next!
Your mind is in the gutter. Yes, this is... You might remember this. We threw some chairs at it last year. Sir, you are being hunted. A stealth game where you can't enter buildings and hide. Sort of defeating the purpose of running away from people. But lo and behold, they are adding multiplayer now. So congratulations, your shitty, ineffectual game made on Unity has multiplayer that
it was kind of like genuinely, it was one of my first things. Like, I downloaded it again, and I was like, well, let's try this. Does this thing still run like bleeding ass?
Yep.
On 1080p on a 980, it can kind of hit 60 on a good day if you're looking at a penny real hard. I mean, apparently it's still completely busted. The only reason it had any playability for me is because I was brute forcing it with the 980. And again, like all the buildings are just buildings. You go up to a door, you click on it, then it's like, here's some rats and expired shit. What do you want to do with it? I don't know. Robots are trying to kill me because the AI fucking sucks in this game to the point where you can't get away from it. I mean, if they get you,
robots are
just
psychic.
die.
Yeah.
But let's quit digging that hole because coffin doggers, yes.
Doggers.
New one.
It's for dog coffins, yeah.
No, they've added multiplayer. It's in, well, they've added it, but it's in beta. This game's also in beta, aka early access. And what is it? You never heard about it? We've talked about it. You race around in little carts, kind of like Mario Kart with more wrinkles. Let's just be honest about that. And you race against
also,
dead.
it has the neat little mechanic where if you are in the last 2 slots, you get eliminated from the match and then you get subbed in with new guys.
You definitely die. And I was like 2 nights ago, I was like, ring, P-Man, what's up, stud? And so let's try to get this business going because they're like, we're testing it. And then about halfway through our experience, I was like, wait, didn't Unity update with like auto magic matchmaking shit? And I bet they just threw that in, crossed their fucking fingers. How did it work out for us, B-Baby?
It didn't really work. You invited me. I couldn't see you in your lobby. Then I invited you. I couldn't see you in my lobby either. Then apparently you started a new lobby and you found some unknown. And you managed to do a little race with him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I was still sitting at the lobby just waiting. So yeah, it's busted.
Indeed. So
It's time to you gotta reach for it, Pedro. You can't get
Reach
it any other
around.
way. This is out of reach, and this is a game that I think Pedro had seeded my ultimate description of this. Pedro, what did you call it?
It's Rust without as many dongs and more boats.
So what you're saying is there are a lot fewer dicks, but a whole lot more semen.
Also, yes.
It's Seaman!
You know you're gonna have a bad time when the trailer's jerky.
Yeah, no, this is basically Tom Hanks' Castaway Simulator, except there are other people who can come on your little island and try to kill you. It really
It's
is
yet
just Rust
another
with
survival
boats.
game.
Yeah, it's Rust with boats. It's in early access. I bet you it's a Unity game. Dollars
Of
to
course
donuts.
it is.
$16.99. Oh man, we used to joke a lot about there being an overabundance of first-person shooter games on Linux. I think that's about to be dethroned. How many survival games are
the
on Linux
Unity
now?
Ghetto. The Unity Ghetto is literally full of survival games because there is literally a resource pack which is called Unit Z, which is in itself a self-contained working survival game. So people usually just get it, replace some of the textures, and put it up on Steam. Hell, some people don't even bother with replacing the assets. They just build it and put it up on Steam.
Yes.
Okay, well, let's talk about my penis.
Yes, the obelisk of infinite yet paradoxically limited power. It's Negro. It's got a new update. And I was reading through the whole new things, like a new level, the obelisk, okay? You get a free respec because they've introduced a bunch of new stuff for the characters. You get a refund after death because refunds, they're topical right now, right? They've nerfed the statue levels. I have no idea what that is. They fixed a bunch of bugs and introduced some more new shit. Now, I was reading through the relatively small list that they posted here, and I'm like, it's finally becoming the MOBA they always wanted to be, but without having to compete with either Dota 2 or League of Legends.
Oh man,
Yeah.
look at this! Just buy this if you. It's $9.99. It's half off right
that
now.
was the other early
$10.
access game I was
That's
trying
an
to think
impulse
of
buy right
before.
there.
When we were talking about Victor Brand, yeah, Necro, highly polished early access.
Done in Unity
it's,
too.
It's basically cooked. They're just adding new shit.
Right.
Yeah,
I
and
love
it
seeing
was
stuff like
made
this.
by some of the people who made Diablo and a bunch of other games.
Indeed, and one of the brilliant things is it's a fun game, and I love examples because yes, we trash on Unity all the time because there's a bunch of trashy Unity games. This is a Unity game done right, proving that if you know what you're doing, it's really not the engine's fault that your game sucks and performs bad. It's your fault, Brad. Yeah.
It's not the tool, it's the tool who uses the tool. Speaking of tools, coming up next, Pedro gives an introduction to regular news.
Without drivers. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the good old Linuxy news. And this time around, we're not starting with the usual drivers. Jordan, what's up this week?
What a shock! It's astounding. I don't even know what to talk about. What with there being no new NVIDIA or AMD drivers. Oh right, there's this thing. YouTube has on their official YouTube blog spot on their official blogging service has announced that they announced YouTube Gaming a while ago, but this is the proper announcement for it. They're basically saying YouTube has created a whole new genre of blah 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 blah. This is your standard press release article. Really, they're just providing another Twitch-like service. And I was saying this before we started recording, and I'll go into a little more in depth right now. Lots of people stream their content on Twitch or Picardo or a bunch of other ones that are out there because it provides some sort of streaming service. If you want me to pick my ass up from whatever I'm currently on and move to your service, you better incentivize that. You better give me something that I am not going to get anywhere else. And from here, it doesn't sound like they're doing anything revolutionary. It's just, oh yeah, you could stream on YouTube, and maybe YouTube integration. They could do some interesting things with that. But there is another problem that I see with this. Currently, if you want to be a Let's Player on YouTube, if you want to play games for certain companies that don't release their games on Linux and have been around for 200 years, you cannot say anything negative about them without getting a takedown notice from, well, it's Nintendo, but yeah, you have to maintain a positive image for Nintendo. You cannot play other games other than Nintendo games. It is this huge, like, draconian agreement you have to sign into where Nintendo takes a huge part of your chunk of your profits from your streaming revenue and whatnot. I'm curious what you will ultimately have to agree to if you want to stream your stuff on YouTube, given all their existing partnerships.
You got to think about you kind of got to get a point. I mean, you want a friction-free service. And, you know, I love Google Plus. I use it constantly. It's my main social network, if you even want to call it that. And when I first saw this, I just said, good luck with that, because you screwed up all my fucking accounts by forcing me to create a YouTube channel and a G Plus thing. I had everything nice and organized because I had this. This channel was for this, but I posted on G Plus because I didn't want to spam this channel. But this AdSense was tied into this old account, which you also made me create a YouTube channel for. Like, fuck. And I had to spend 45 minutes just getting everything to work together until they give me like a nice clicky thing to put that all back together. I'm not even going to consider it. Yes. Is it nice to have options? Yes. Will they be Nazis about takedown notices on everything? Absolutely. Man.
Yeah. It wouldn't be YouTube.
Yeah, Twitch is, Amazon's got a good thing going. I mean, you know, we'll play some like video on YouTube or something like that. It might be a music video or something, and they'll just mute the audio. And I was like, man, that's fair. That's fair. I mean, they let you play it live, but you go back and try to watch it, and like it muted. Googs has got the power to nope the stream right then, and that's what people. They're going to be automated systems to automatically take you down, and what worries me is not people actually sitting there like, I'm going to play a movie on my stream that's not out yet. No, I'm worried about false positives. And that's definitely going to be a thing.
One other thing to note is Google really likes to kill off their services. So if you do end up moving to YouTube streaming or their YouTube gaming thing, there's a good chance they're going to kill this off in like 3 to 4 years if it doesn't take off. So that's another reason not to put your eggs in that basket. Google is notorious for that. Plus, you know, Google, basically every 8 months, they completely redesign everything, and that's just going to be a pain in the ass. I think the Twitch interface has stayed the same for at least a year and a half now.
It's ugly, but it gets shit done, P-Man.
And and you know where everything is.
This little post that they made on their blog, there's only like one feature that distinguishes them from Twitch, which is 60 FPS streaming. Mm-hmm. They have that, granted, yes. But the most interesting part to me was actually people on the comments going like, bye-bye Twitch, or YouTube gaming over Twitch, before they've even had the chance to try it out. It's the bullshit hype train strikes again.
It's AstroTurf. You think these are literal, like, actual people? No, these are people Google pays to positively comment about their stuff.
No, probably not, because if anything we've seen lately on the internet is actual people, defending big companies when they really don't have their best interests in mind, and they still go out and defend them. They're called fanboys.
Hail corporate.
Well, if we're talking about big games not coming to Linux, let's go ahead and talk about something that doesn't have a native editor.
Yes.
The Ghetto.
Unity 5.1 is here. So, yeah, that big engine that... It seems that the ratio between good games and shitty games on Steam made with the Unity engine is improving, but it's still not anywhere near acceptable yet. And they have released the new 5.1. They say that multiplayer has been made easy. We've kind of already touched this on the Coffin Dodgers story earlier. They've introduced new networking bits, and they have improved the VR support within Unity. They say, join the VR revolution.
Windows only, by the way. The network features they added were actually kind of neat. If they continue working on them, matchmaking is something that a lot of games could actually benefit from that have multiplayer. That it's not a service that people provide. They also provide the option to have hosted servers from Unity, though I don't know well that will actually ultimately work out. One other thing they added, which is relevant to Linux gamers, is they added a new OpenGL, a unified OpenGL renderer for they used to have like separate renders for Android and for Linux and for Mac OS. That's all been abstracted. The Unity engine takes care of all of this now. Which would be nice for the GPU side. Shame it will not do fuck all for CPU performance, because that's just...
All right. Oculus unveils consumer Rift headset with Xbox One controller. Man, I just want to put a bicycle in that man's mouth.
As do I. As do I.
Okay, this is out. Everyone lost their collective shit. And, well, they've added one camera to it, and, oh my god, Xbox controller, that's why we're not getting Linux support, because, put the fucking glue stick back in your mouth and pull the collective dicks out of your ear organs, kids. No, that's not the case, okay? Linux support started noping when Carmack joined the team. Carmack, yes, he's a great guy. He used to love Linux, but Carmack loves new, interesting shit he can fuck with. Linux is no longer on his radar, and you can draw a line to where the development kit started lagging behind with Linux support when he joined the team. Think about that for a moment. Now, then you get the Xbox controller and the IR tracker. All that business is a knee-jerk reaction by the Facebooks after Valve dropped a fuck-mothering hydrogen bomb in their face organs at Steam Dev Days. They weren't ready for that. Up until that point, Oculus was the bee's knees. They had it. Everything was right. And Valve comes out of nowhere. It's like, check this out. Positional, everything.
Done goofed.
IOs everywhere. And not only does Valve already have all the tacked-on business that they're trying, and also keep this in mind, at the demonstration for Facebook, nobody got to touch it, because half that shit was hollow and or not working. But Valve, again, the VR business, all that was baked in from Genesis, and it's shipping. It's in people's hands right now.
It's also being constantly described as next-gen revolutionary, as opposed to Oculus, which is like, yeah, it's a
been
VR
described
headset.
as religious experience.
Yeah. But it looks like to me the reason that they're not supporting Linux right now is because they spent most of their time creating a new sort of Steam store for Oculus only games, which at this point for Windows you got Origin, Uplay, Battle.net, Steam, Arc, and now the Oculus store.
Wait, no, you could, because you forgot GOG Galaxy and Disserve. Sorry.
Right.
That's low, Brad.
Yeah.
That's low.
I couldn't say that with a straight face. I'm sorry, guys.
Competition is good, but in the age of convergence, they are literally splitting their user base.
See, and there was a story I released today about this, actually. Apparently, Facebook is determined to shoot this in the foot, because now they're saying no sexy apps on our app stores. And what I would say a good maybe 20% of people actually are interested in the Oculus and VR for porn and nothing but porn. And I mean, hell, at least fucking Valve has their hentai visual novels on Steam. So there's that if you want to get some VR stuff.
I just can't wait for our first reviews of Hootie Poop or whatever it's called.
Honey Pop?
They also had like that interesting, like weird two-fisted Bringy controller thing in the article. This is from TechCrunch in our show notes. Blah blah blah.
You mean those hollow plastic things?
Yes, the hollow plastic things that really remind me of the fucking whatever Jim Carrey was doing with his hand in those like Saturday Night Live Lincoln commercials. Who are these kids? What are they doing in my Lincoln?
I don't know. I mean, the first time I saw those, it was like, you put
they're maracas.
Then you get the duct tape and you tape it on, because that shit's going to go Wiimote on your ass.
Well, no, you can see in the picture they have straps attached to them. I don't know if that's going to be enough.
So did a Wiimote one time, and I broke that.
Butt plug. It's a butt plug.
Our favorite psychopaths return.
Yeah, and they've changed the engine. We've actually mentioned that a couple of months ago, actually. And it's open scene graph. They've finally gotten to the point where the new engine is playable, but it's still missing more than a few graphical fidelity options. like AA, shaders. They have anisotropic filtering. There are no water reflections, no shadows. The max resolution is still limited to 1680 by 1050. So keep that in mind. But they did some... They say that it was an unfair benchmark comparison between the old version, which used Ogre 3D, and the new one with Open Scene Graph. And the new one... Yeah?
Oh, I was just going to say, but just as a secondary mention, because we did talk about this when we mentioned that they're switching to OpenSea Graph from Ogre. They're dropping DirectX entirely. They're 100% OpenGL for the foreseeable future for Open Morrowind. So,
which means AMD users on Windows, your performance is going to suck.
AMD users on Linux, it'll stay about the same.
Basically, yep. It's good to see they're doing that, and I kind of feel bad for the Ogre guys, but man, Ogre is just a hot mess, always has been. And yeah, that's the thing. I just want to know, where is my open Skyrim? Get to work on that, Brad. Coming up.
Oh, yes.
I can smell it from here. Oh.
Okay, so this thing actually has a bit of a sordid history.
Doesn't it?
Because this is not their first crowdfunding campaign. This is their third, in fact.
What? No. What is this? You've never heard of it, J-Man. Tell me all about it.
Okay, so this is Beast Fury, the fighting game.
Oh, Fury. Right, okay, sorry.
Well, it is a furry game. Let's not mince words about it. This is a furry fighting game. If that's your thing, good on you. Regardless, if you played Dustin Elysian Tale and said, I want this guy to fight other people, this might be the game for you. Unfortunately, they had a successful Kickstarter.
You know, to be honest with you, I actually was thinking if you wanted to play Skullgirls and they didn't have on their suits.
That's funny. No, well, actually, speaking of Skullgirls, this is a game in the vein of Skullgirls. It is a 2D airborne fighter type thing, much in the same vein of Guilty Gear and BlazBlue that Skullgirls takes a lot of influence from.
Well, I don't see a problem with it, J-Man, because it's just Indiegogo. They want a little bit of coin, man.
Yeah, they want a bit of coin after this one apparently is to speed up the animation process because they've only got 2 fighters done and they want more money so they can work harder to get more fighters animated. Except for the fact that they raised $21,000 in their last Indiegogo.
Wait! You forgot their Kickstarter.
Oh, no, I was about to mention it. I'm just trying to figure out how much money they made on
$47,000 on the Kickstarter.
$47,000.
Yep.
Then this is absolutely Indiegogo too. Electric Boogaloo, they're back.
Yep. So far they've only made $1,000 off of their latest Indiegogo, but they have close to $70,000 for development. That is most than a lot of these Kickstarter games get.
I mean, it's absolutely that, man. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and the previous both Kickstarter and Indiegogo didn't they list Linux as one of the platforms that the game was going to support?
Okay, the current Indiegogo, Linux is listed as kind of like, if we fund the entire project, you get Linux support. The Indiegogo before that, Linux wasn't a stretch goal. It was just a thing you got.
You little fucks.
But wait.
So it's reverse Skullgirls.
This is beyond. I mean, J-Man had this thing in the notes I'm looking at. He's like, so, yeah, it's kind of like Skullgirls. Can we expect a time frame? And I'm like, for what? Another Indiegogo campaign? Seriously? No, I've just seen this business happen more times than I can count. It's not that the developers are necessarily bad, per se, but they are thinking along the lines of more money equals more features, instead of what they should be thinking is more money equals finish the damn game, Brad.
See, and this speaks to the larger issue of these crowdfunding games. It's a bunch of developers that said, yeah, we can go make a game. What they don't realize is they need project management. They need to actually scope out what they are attempting to do, ascertain how much money they actually need, set realistic timeframes, and then derive what the total money they need to actually finish developing this game.
Jordan, if they keep getting money, they'll finish it.
If they keep getting money, eventually they'll be able to fill a swimming pool and they'll be able to swim around in our hard-earned filthy lucre and not actually finish.
Actually, I don't even think that's the case with this lot.
I think it's way too much
Yeah,
cocaine.
it's called feature creep. P-Man, last words?
Do not crowdfund games. If you crowdfund a game, you're telling the developers that they don't actually need to make the game before they can get money. Just saying.
Well, I mean, like what? Wasteland, Torment, and Pillars of
Yeah,
Eternity.
those were the exceptions.
Distance.
Then you have Carmageddon, then you have Skullgirls.
Hey
then you
man,
have this
Carmageddon got
game.
released on Steam.
At the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, just do a bit of little mothering research before you fund said anything. Period. End of conversation. Godot is back.
Godot, right. So, we've talked about this engine before, although very much eclipsed by Unity, very much eclipsed by Unreal Engine 4. This is a very, very cool open source game making framework, and they are adding initial support for Vulkan. They go on a bit and they describe how Vulkan is the future and we need to get behind it and blah, 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 blah. Pedro will go on about that a little more. And it's all well and good. And that one other interesting point, they are trying to transition to a nonprofit so that this is like a true blue open source thing. No one owns it and anyone can use it. Very, very much a public good thing. Awesome that they're actually trying to do this. But much like Leadworks, I have yet to see a really cool game built on the Godot engine that shows off its capabilities. And that's what projects like this need, is something that says, hey, check out this awesome shit that you can play. And
Portfolio.
It's so easy.
It needs a
it's
portfolio.
so easy, Pedro can do it.
Yeah, but the very start of the article says, while many claim it will be just an additional API, those of us who have been in the industry for long enough know well that Vulkan will make all other APIs obsolete. Yeah, that's all well and good until
And
you get
it'll
to the
grant you
point.
wishes, including your code path for DirectX 12.
Until you get to the point that you actually look up the people behind the Godot engine and you Google for their names, and literally the only thing that comes up is Godot. As Jordan already mentioned, there are no games. There's no showcase available for this engine at this time. They need a portfolio. And don't get me wrong, I want to see Vulkan succeed. But starting an article with this line is disingenuous at best.
Well, here's what I'm thinking. I mean, maybe Brick Simulator 2015 3D was a bit. Maybe I'll go hipster pixel with it and take it 2D. And we can have Brick, and it'll come with its own little fixie cards and.
No, we could change the name to Sim Brick.
Sim Brick, yeah.
Has anybody ever heard of this game? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Skullgirls.
It was on Newgrounds, I think. Something about that.
Yeah, I think it was. It's a Newgrounds game. Pima?
Yeah, it's not like we haven't mentioned it like 4 or 5 times already during this show. But
Oh,
yeah,
we have.
been
This is
wondering how the hashtag Linux port of hashtag Skullgirls is coming along. We've got a new alpha progress video for you. And they do have the link there. And apparently the video was set to private because Ven kind of took a screenshot and they, fixed
Yeah,
now.
I kind of did. They're like, here, take a look at the video. And I was just like, you can't even get that shit right, Brad. Come on.
But yeah, so this is Skullgirls. It's the whipping boy, the LGC whipping boy, ironically, since girls.
Now that Carmageddon's out.
Yeah, so I'll believe it that the Linux port for Skullgirls exists when I can play it.
It's kind of like
Because-
what I said earlier. I mean, don't get your hopes up, don't get your hopes down and or sideways. At this point, it's been so long, we don't care. And then if it comes out, I'm like, look, it came out, big deal. If it doesn't,
and
you're going to be like,
when
it
it
never
does,
came out. All right.
One final point before we wrap this up. After they say it's coming along swimmingly, or coming along nicely, after 3 years, you are not allowed to say that. You are not allowed to say it's coming along nicely. It is going along at a snail's pace. In fact, snails have surpassed you, died, have children, and their kids have gone beyond where you are right now. Lab Zero. So, I mean, I'm glad. I suppose the really, really tiny percentage of fighting game enthusiasts, Linux fighting game enthusiasts, are really stoked about this. I'm just curious to see if it runs well. That is
just
my
wanna
only
play it.
investment.
At
That is
this
my
point,
only
that's
investment
just
in this game at this moment. Once they release it on Linux, is it busted? And to their credit, if they can get it working, good for them. I might even play it a bit. But Up next, we get Massive for Double Fine. And let us begin the Chairquisition. We are reviewing Massive Chalice today. You can check that out at massivechalice.com. It's developed by Double Fine on the Buddha engine, their own in-house tech. You can pick it up for $19.99 with stinky space bucks or space euros. Or if you're in Canada like me, you gotta pay $21.99 because they actually do have regional pricing over here. Go us! What is it? Massive Chalice is a strategy game set in an epic timeline from Double Fine Productions. As the glorious immortal ruler Kim Jong-un, you take command of the nation's heroes. Forge heroic marriages, strengthen your bloodline, and battle a mysterious enemy known as the Cadence in a 300-year war. Basically, it's XCOM with Pokemon breeding. We'll get into that a little bit more. The Chairquisition awaits! 1 chair means that it's trash, 2 chairs means that it's meh, 3 chairs means that it's good, and 4 chairs means that it's really good. We also have our categories of doom, mixed with working, shiny sounds, controls, and fun. So in the event that I get a kernel panic, let's try and make it so that's after the recording of this. Ben, did it make with the working?
Did it make with the working on the Ubuntu 1404 LTS 4K displayed 980 powered box of business? Unfortunately, it did. Nothing went wrong, so I was forced to play yet another turn-based strategy game. But we'll get into that later. 4 chairs!
Yep. As with most Double Fine games, works out of the box. No fuss, no muss, 4 chairs.
Yeah, when a tactics game has trouble maintaining 60 frames per second on a GTX 970 Strix and an FX 8370E at 4 GHz and 2 Samsung Evo SSDs and YOLO RAID, you know that there's probably
because your
something
IO
wrong.
bus is saturated.
There's probably something wrong with the engine, which, you know, since it's a tactics game, as long as it's not jerking around below 30 frames per second, I'll give it a pass. 4 chairs.
All right, so that's 4 chairs for mixed with the working. Up next, the shinny and the sounds. Ben did it shin.
And did it sound? Well, at 3840 by 2160, it manages to hold a steady 30 FERPs using your standard anti-aliasing. Enabling SSA even at 2x will curb stomp that business down to about 15, so you might not want to try it. Like most Double Fine games, your color palette is a billion shades of brown peppered with the occasional pastel business. That's just how they roll. And to be perfectly honest, I'm not a huge fan of the art style. I think the best way I can describe said art style would be maybe a 3D Broken Age with an extremely low poly count. And as expected, the voice acting is impeccable. It's brilliant. Double Fine always delivers on that business. It's great. I genuinely love it. But take that with a grain of chainsaw, because unfortunately, it's mixed with Double Fine humor. It's like regular humor, except forced and absolutely cringeworthy. Just not of these days. So I'm going to give the shiny and sounds 2 chairs, bit middle of the road there.
Yeah, well, it's a Double Fine game, so like Ben said, voice acting is awesome. Double Fine humor doesn't bother me so much. Yeah, it can be a bit cringy at times, but I just more or less tune that out. The one thing I wish they really kind of did more with was the 2 personalities of the Chalice, because it had sort of the there is no loading and unloading in a white zone. Don't give me that white zone shit, Peggy, thing from Airplane. That they kind of had the back and forth. I thought you could actually get some genuine laughs out of that. The visuals are typical for Double Fine's house style. I mean, if you look at stuff like even Brutal, going back so far as Brutal Legend, Psychonauts, Broken Age, and this the Cave. They all have that sort of similar semi-angular head-shaped. It's very much Double Fine's house style. I personally have no problem with it. The color palette is a bit brown, but again, no real issues. I will say anything beyond SSA does just completely murder performance. It runs fairly well. I didn't actually. I think I had the frame rate counter off from Steam since I was recording Dragon, but it seemed to be moving at an acceptable frame rate. No herky jerks or anything like that. So I'll give it 3 cheers.
Yeah, there is a considerable amount of voice acting in this game, and as Jordan and Ben already mentioned, it is top of the line, as usual. The aforementioned Double Fine humor is there for whatever it's worth. I have to agree with Jordan at the start, having the two personalities of the Chalice kind of going at each other. That was fun, but after you get, like, say, halfway into the game, you start to find it a bit repetitious. They're always repeating the same lines over and over and over. It's annoying. The graphics, I found out, will glitch out if you alt-tab out of the game and back in. You'll have some weird artifacts on the screen. You'll have to alt-tab, back out, and then back in for it to sort of fix itself. So for that, I have to dig it one chair, and that's 3.
All right, so that's 2 chairs for Shining Sands. Up next is Control. And for a point-and-click game, we're going to go so in-depth.
It is very in-depth because you pull out your yellow swag EP and Extender 9000 or a regular G-Series Logitech gerbil. Either way, however you want to name it, it's point-and-click shocker. So you point and you click. It's Double Fine. That's what they know how to do. They know how to let you point and click, then things happen after that. My only legitimate beef organ with this entire business is the complete lack of free-range camera movement. You can move in quadrants. One quarter, one quarter, one quarter, one quarter. You hold it down, it'll still do that pause. There's no, I want to look at it from this way at the top because I need to see who's doing what. So this is not going to happen for you, Brad. Outside of that, everything else is pretty neat sauce. Mont, also because of that, it's going to lose a chair. 3, and you got to keep in mind, I don't know. Maybe this is a common thing in turn-based strategy games. Who knows? I just didn't like it.
XCOM does it.
Yeah, XCOM does it. The one issue I had with the camera thing, and it was really this one gripe, is there are a couple situations where the objects in the map are angled so that no matter how you rotate the screen, it's always at that weird fucking angle where you can't click or see something important like an enemy placement or a square that you should occupy that allows you to more effectively use your limited movements. Yeah, but the controls are ultimately just point and click. There are some hotkeys. Pedro, you made some mentions about some unit-specific hotkeys. I was just using the ones for moving the map around, and it worked fine. XCOM has, I think, more or less the same control bindings. Usually in strategy games, I like to take a minute during the control sections to discuss the turn-based strategy mechanics. And I'll go into this a bit more in fun, but it's actually fairly well thought out. The various classes are a bit weirdly named, so it can be if you haven't seen them before, trying to figure out what they do is a bit odd, because you would think there's something called a brutalist. What does that do? Maybe he brutalizes people? No, it's an advanced alchemist, because it's spelled brew as in like I want a beer after drinking this game because I drink electricity.
Forced
Yeah, anyways, 3 chairs for controls. Running on too long, Pedro.
Yeah, so you click and clicky things happen. There are supposedly hotkeys, like Jordan already mentioned, for specific actions, like turning the camera around, centering the camera on the character who is currently waiting to take a turn. Those keys are usually mapped to Q, E, R, and F. And those happen to be the very same keys that I have mapped on the special buttons on the sides of my mouse here. See those? Yeah. So, this is the first Linux game that outright refuses to recognize these buttons on my mouse. Even The Elder Scrolls Online, played through wide, recognizes those keys with the correct bindings. What the hell? So, for me, for controls, I have to give it 3 chairs.
And that's 3 chairs total for control. And now our final category, where Ben will tell you how much he loves turn-based strategy. Fun.
Oh my god, I love it so much. I give him all the time. No, that was not Invisible Dicks.
I'm disappointed.
I am. Just bear with me on this one. Turn-based strategy, don't like it. You take a shot at somebody, you miss, point blank, then you wait. Never been a fan of that. But I put a full on into this. I got my achievements and badges to prove that I did. I didn't just leave it running, thinking, then maybe this is the one that will make you change your mind. And I kind of actually thought for a moment it might be, because I was like, well, I've never really seen turn-based strategy done by Double Fine. Maybe it'll be a lighter, more comical type thing. Maybe I'll be able to get into it. It'll introduce me to a new genre that I just absolutely loathe. That didn't really happen. Actually, I should have been thinking about, oh, right, remember that real-time strategy game, Brutal Legend they tried to make? Yeah, that sucked. So, I don't know why I had those hopes. You can't really mix your Double Fine casual with turn-based strategy, it turns out. Well, honestly, I guess you can. But you're going to end up with this particular game called Massive Chalice. And this game just doesn't sell me on the concept, and it's not light enough. A lot of people in the forums were complaining that it's not deep enough, and it needs more. And I was like, well, I don't know. It's just kind of boring. And as soon as I started realizing I needed to keep a spreadsheet to track who's shagging who in this game, because that's a very important mechanic, believe it or not, my eyes, they just glazed over. I guess what I'm trying to say is this is yet another overly ambitious project from Double Fine that has failed to deliver on all fronts. It seems like it has genuinely irritated both camps. So, that said, I'm going to give it one share. I did not enjoy it.
Well, the combat is really the game's strong suit. They did a really good job of ripping off XCOM Enemy Unknown's formula. And, I mean, that gameplay was pretty spot on, so the carbon copy of this is also fairly spot on, though it can get a bit repetitive at times. One thing I will note, playing this game for an hour feels like playing it for 20 minutes. So it's a pretty easy time sink as far as getting your money's worth in terms of gameplay. The breeding mechanic, which is critical because your fighters age in real time. They'll die, they'll grow old. You gotta pair them off. So you gotta pump out babies constantly, and it's very obtuse. I get that you're supposed to figure out what it is through multiple playthroughs, but I breed competitive Pokemon, and it's nowhere near as stupid as this, where you have to match up the various traits and whatnot.
That is genuinely the nerdiest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah,
the nerdiest analogy ever.
I play competitive Pokemon. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so go fuck yourselves. Yeah, the breeding mechanic, you have to go through a bunch of menus to figure out who does what. It could have been incredibly streamlined, isn't. But I mean, I enjoyed myself playing it. I didn't hate the game. It's not a terrible game. It's just meh, 2 chairs.
Yeah, my favorite part of both this game and XCOM is the combat. The micromanagement and bullshittery that you have to do in between missions never really appealed to me. This game seems to place even a heavier focus on said bullshittery than XCOM did. And I don't know, I think the combat kind of suffers for it. Maybe it's because the combat itself and the game itself is not as hard as XCOM, or maybe just spend most of their time on fucking by the numbers, quote unquote. And the combat was kind of second thought. Maybe. I suppose that if XCOM was a solid 4 chairs for the fun, this game should get 3, but it doesn't. I played all the way through the game today. I got to the final mission, and the final mission, they started out by saying, oh, we need to call the cadence here in order to set off a chain reaction. What that actually means is we're going to spawn you in a room with 0 cover and a shit ton of monsters that just run at you and say, have at, bitch. So, the game all the way up to that point was competent, but as soon as it hit that stupid last mission, I'm not even going to bother going back and trying it out, because I tried it, I failed it, I still got to see like an ending cutscene of the Chalice getting corrupted by the cadence, and then the credits rolled. So, as far as I'm concerned, I finished the damn thing. 2 chairs.
All right, so that's 1 chair for fun, and we tally everything up, and this results in a 2-chair game for Massive Chalice from Double Fine. Final thoughts?
If you don't like turn-based strategy, this will not change your idea organ at all. Full disclosure, they gave us keys for this game, as Double
Long
Fine
time
often
ago.
does.
Yeah,
Brilliant at that.
back when it was in early access. Yeah.
And to their credit, you know, we've reviewed several of their games, and they continue giving us keys whether or not we like the game or not. So, I mean, they are that type of company. They're a fine young bunch of cannibals. So.
Of doubles, I suppose. Up next, we have a very packed hate mail segment, and we get to Troll Roy from AMD.
Why, hello there, sexy, sexy people. It's time for the hate mail. And as usual, if you'd like to get in touch with us, go on over to LinuxGameCast.com, push the contact button on the nav bar, fill out the form. Just remember, if you're trying to promote your game, your Kickstarter, your Indiegogo, your Steam Early Access, Steam Greenlight, whatever you want to call it, just include some Steam keys, some Desura, some GOG keys, some Humble keys, anything, or even just, you know, a link to the tar.gz or even the zip file that you're distributing the prototype of your game on. Just let us play your game, otherwise we will not talk about it and we will make fun of you. You saw it happen last week, and it will happen again.
But there's some people
So
we just
before
don't
we
make
get-
fun of.
Yes.
And
we shouldn't
they are
probably
our
make fun
wonderful,
of them.
wonderful patrons who go to patreon.com/LinuxGameCast and give us money every week for this horribleness because they just love the abuse. We got 3 new ones this week. We got Dan S, Earl C, and yes, Mickey hates it because Pedro can't pronounce Mikey. He says Mickey.
Hey man, I thought it had a C in it.
But Jordan, why would people give us money? I mean, what could we offer in return, man? This is crazy.
Well, you see, this shit, we're all independently wealthy, so we can just throw piles and piles of our own money at it. But we like a little additional support as well. And if we have a number of goals or a number of pledge prizes. If you give 5 cents or more an episode, you get access to our special gaming videos a week before everyone else does. Give $1, you get a special forum title. Hell, if you're particularly rich, you want to give $50 an episode, you can actually show up and get lambasted by us.
We actually
That's
need to
an excellent-
rename that LGC Greenlight.
That you don't actually name the pledge goals, but we'll talk to Patreon and get that done. We also hey, we're actually less than $5 away.
Five.
Yeah, we're $4.45 away from recording a Portal series where Ben, Pedro, and I, or Sandy, or a couple of us attempt to kill each other while trying to complete Portal 2 levels in multiplayer. It's gonna
Sounds
be
like a
good
bad
fun.
idea.
But
You
you know,
think?
back to Pedro's thing about the hate mail.
Yes, the hate mail. First one this week is Team JP. He was talking about refunds. He said, I got a refund for 2 to 3 impulse buys I did during the winter sale, but only played for an hour. Also, got a refund for Trine, which runs like crap despite Trine 2 working just fine on my NVIDIA system. Actually had 3 hours on that, mostly from testing settings, etc. to make it work. Writing a lengthy explanation does seem to persuade the support team, that's because they don't read it, that reviews these requests. Tomorrow is a summer sale, so I won't hold on to my refunded money for too long.
No,
I
this
don't know
was
what the
in
hell you're
response
smoking.
to last week when we were just like, hey, there's Steam refunds. Living Proof, Dying Light.
I don't know what kind
money
of bullshit
back.
this guy's smoking if Trine 1 is running like ass for him, because it runs very well for me.
Well, yeah, I mean, it works. Every game works completely different. My favorite is going into the Carmageddon forums because there's like 5 or 6 white knights in there. Like, it runs fine. It's marvelous. And everybody's like, well, why don't you record a video? I'm like,
My computer's not powerful enough to do it.
Well, I want to say to Tim, man, I mean, good on you, buddy. I mean, get back what you can. I mean, especially if something's not working, it doesn't matter. It could just be a hang-up. You build your PC. You got some hardware issues, Bobby.
Maybe. Maybe your SSDs are dying. You get kernel panics every 15 minutes. Who knows? Up next. This is from Mikey Hates It, one of our new Patreon backers.
Bingo.
So he's a handsome, upstanding chap who ladies like, and money follows him wherever he goes.
Poor guys,
He
however you
says-
roll, baby.
He says, I enjoyed the show last night. Found it informative, educational, and quite humorous at times. I also enjoyed listening to Ven Stone's show and tell of technology he's used over the years. That was actually in the after show, because if you're not watching us live, you should be. LinuxGameCast.com/live or on Twitch, soon to be YouTube, if they don't give us DMCA takedown notices for everything we say. Brought back some memories of technology I have used too. Will be making time every Saturday to watch your show. Thanks. Well, thank you, Mikey, because you gave us money, and we love you because of it.
I mean, we would still love you anyway. Mostly.
Somewhat.
No, we actually do love you, and hey, it's rare that we actually get some love mail, and when we get some love mail on a Sandy episode, hallelujah freaking Louie.
And just to be perfectly honest with you, you could not have cut me any deeper. What those kind words? They burn, Brad.
Up next.
Oh, this is in response to our Linux Busted Ass Early Access show and Jordan talking about...
He's talking to me.
Yeah.
He's talking about the controller, and he's saying, if your controller's not working in Linux, you should check to see if you have a JS0 device when your controller is not plugged in. Some keyboards have some of the same hardware that game controllers have, so they get loaded as a game controller as well as a keyboard. When you plug in your actual game controller, it goes to JS1. The games don't usually see it. I have this problem with my Microsoft keyboard and Metro last night. See, I didn't actually check that. That's not a terrible idea. But I did actually, after I got out of Victor Vran, I did actually go and check to see if the controller was in fact working in Towerfall, and it was working fine. So maybe it's something to do with the Victor Vran engine, but I'll check it the next time.
it's working over in Hero. P-Man, have you tried it with a controller?
I have not. I actually haven't. I was thinking of another game, which is highly similar, but no, Victor Vran, I actually didn't try it with the controller yet. I will soon, I promise. And before I forget, I did skip over one story. Skip. Which is Ven's little Google Plus post here about
might have been walking by Best Buy and they might have accidentally released something a little bit early. It's called the Radeon R9 390 with UDA kit Universal.
It's another kit.
369. Think of all the performance of a 550 Ti.
It's about 350.
Yeah, under Linux, and it's got 8 gigajoules of memory. Now, the only reason I'm bringing this up is you might know this guy, Aaron Plattner from NVIDIA, who works on the Linux drivers.
The guy in charge, the guy in charge of the NVIDIA Linux drivers.
He is like, what's an UDA kit? Something for cows? I was like, oh, suck it,
man,
Roy,
the gauntlet has been
burn,
thrown.
nerd fight. Shit's got real, son.
And I'm taking
fired.
bets. Roy from AMD versus Aaron, who would win in a straight up fist fight.
Well, actually, if you put it in like where it's like 30 degrees centigrade, Roy will just fall over and faint because he can handle the heat. And on that bombshell, let's cue the music because you can always find us around 9:30 Eastern Standard Moon Time. You're wondering when that is? Type in time, Athens, Georgia, and if it says 9:30, we're probably on. I'm Vin Stone. You can always find me at Vin Stone, cleverly disguised on the Twitter nets, plus Vin Stone on the G pluses.
I am Jordan Svung and Colonel Panic. No, I am at the Burning Fool on Twitter, plus Jordan Svung on the Google Plus.
I'm pretty sure Colonel Panic, when it comes to podcasts, already copyrighted. Just saying.
We've got DMCA takedown.
You can find me at Unaccounted For on Twitter or plus Pedro Mateos on Google Plus.
And remember, beautiful party people, zombie demon hordes of the internet, at the end of the day, Seig smile.
Hey man, you did it, not me.
Had to be done.
It had to be done.
Again, my excuse, Portuguese.